Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. I had always been a passionate amateur photographer, an enthusiasm sparked by the allure of capturing moments that often slipped unnoticed. My latest acquisition, a sleek new DSLR, had become an extension of my hand. Every weekend, I would spend hours wandering the city, snapping candid shots of life as it unfolded. One crisp autumn afternoon, I lounged on the sofa, scrolling through the photos I had taken over the past month. I enjoyed this ritual, reviewing the images, picking out the best, and occasionally deleting the less impressive ones. It was a way to relive moments, but today, something felt off. Among the familiar faces and scenery, I found an image that stopped me cold. The photograph was starkly out of place, not just in terms of subject, but in its sheer peculiarity. A man, completely naked and bound to a bed, filled the frame. His expression was a mix of discomfort and resignation, and the setting was unfamiliar, nothing like the scenes from the park or city streets where I usually took my shots. I scrolled back through the folder, trying to recall when I might have taken such a photograph. There was no memory of it. The only plausible explanation was that it had to have been taken with my camera. But who was this man? And more importantly, why was he in my photograph? The puzzle gnawed at me. As I examined the photo more closely, I noticed something that made my heart skip a beat, a familiar bracelet on the man's wrist. It was my wife's. Her favorite piece of jewelry. Anger surged through me as the implications hit. The man wasn't a stranger, he was her lover. My fingers trembled as I sifted through the remaining images. It didn't take long to confirm my worst fears. The rest of the photos were explicit, documenting a series of intimate moments. It was a sordid collection, clearly intended for some sort of transaction. My wife and her lover had been using my camera to take and sell these photos on special sites. The betrayal was so profound it felt like a physical blow. I confronted her that evening. Her reaction was a mix of shock and practiced deceit. "Where did you find those?" she asked, feigning innocence. But I wasn't fooled. The truth was clear in the way her eyes avoided mine and the quiver in her voice. "Why, Emily?" I demanded. "How could you do this to me?" She shifted uncomfortably, her facade cracking. "It was supposed to be a one-time thing. We needed the money." "I don't care about your excuses," I said, my voice cold and detached. "You've used me, and now you've crossed a line that can't be undone." That night, I began to craft my revenge plan. It wasn't just about emotional retribution, it was about dismantling the life she had so carelessly shattered. I contacted a divorce lawyer the next morning. I wanted everything, our house, the assets, everything that was legally mine. I also made sure to leak details of her betrayal anonymously to our closest friends and family, ensuring that her reputation would suffer as much as her marriage. The divorce proceedings were swift and brutal. The legal battles were exhausting, but I was relentless. I wanted her to understand the full impact of her actions, and I succeeded. The public humiliation was intense. She lost friends, social standing, and her sense of security. The finality of our separation was marked by her tearful plea for a second chance, a plea I coldly ignored. Our paths never crossed after that. I made sure of it. Her life, once filled with deceit and falsehoods, crumbled under the weight of her own actions. And me? I walked away with a sense of closure, knowing that justice, however harsh, had been served. In the aftermath, I focused on my photography again, channeling my emotions into my work. Each click of the shutter became a way to reclaim my peace, to document beauty in a world that had momentarily betrayed me. But even now, as I look through my camera's viewfinder, the image of that man tied to the bed lingers in my mind, a reminder of the darkness that can lie behind the most innocent of facades, and the lengths to which one might go to seek retribution. A week has passed since I exposed Emily's betrayal and took the first steps toward ending our marriage. The sting of her deception still lingers, but I've managed to keep my focus on the aftermath. Every day, it seems, the fallout from her actions reaches new heights, and I'm left to navigate the wreckage. It's late on a Thursday evening, and I'm at my small but cozy apartment, surrounded by a chaotic assortment of photography gear and personal effects. The doorbell rings, jolting me from my thoughts. I open it to find Greg, my best friend and confidant, standing there with a look of concern etched on his face. "Hey, Greg," I say, trying to sound casual as I step aside to let him in. "Hey, man," he replies, stepping into the living room. "I've been meaning to check in on you. How's everything going?" I gesture for him to sit, then take a seat across from him. It's been a whirlwind. The divorce is moving forward, and I've managed to get a few of her close friends to see what she's done. It's been a mess. Greg nods sympathetically. "I heard some of the details. I'm sorry you had to go through all that. But I've been thinking, this whole situation doesn't add up. I mean, who else could be involved? Have you looked into it further?" His question catches me off guard. I had been so focused on the immediate fallout that I hadn't considered the possibility of further complications. I haven't had the chance. I've been too wrapped up in the legal and personal turmoil. "Maybe it's worth investigating," Greg suggests. "If she's involved in something this deep, there could be more at play. I know a guy who does surveillance work. He might be able to help." I consider this, nodding slowly. "I'll think about it. For now, I need to focus on the court hearings and making sure everything goes smoothly." The next day, my lawyer calls with unsettling news. "I need to meet with you," he says, his voice tense. "There's been a development. Emily's legal team is throwing in some unexpected obstacles. They're claiming you're not entitled to half of the assets, arguing that the betrayal doesn't justify the settlement you're seeking." I feel a surge of anger. "What? They're trying to undermine everything?" "Exactly," he replies. "They're also suggesting that the revelations about her affair were exaggerated and that you're acting out of spite." "Damn it," I mutter. "What can we do?" "We need to strengthen our position," my lawyer advises. "If you can provide more evidence or information that supports your claims, it would help." After the call, I sit in my living room, feeling the weight of the battle ahead. My mind drifts to Greg's suggestion about surveillance. Maybe it's time to dig deeper. I decide to call the private investigator he recommended. A few days later, I meet with the investigator, a no-nonsense man named Jack who looks like he's seen it all. We sit in a small cafe, and I lay out the details of Emily's affair and the use of my camera. Jack listens intently, occasionally jotting down notes. "So, you suspect there's more going on?" Jack asks, leaning forward. "It's possible," I reply. "I just want to be sure that nothing else is being hidden from me. If there are other people involved or if there's more to the story, I need to know." Jack nods. "I'll start by looking into her recent activities and connections. We'll see if there's any financial or personal links that might explain why she'd go to such extremes." As Jack departs to begin his investigation, I'm left with a mix of apprehension and hope. I know that every step I take now has to be calculated. The risk of further revelations is high, but so is the chance of uncovering something that could turn the tide in my favor. Back at home, I review the remaining photos on my camera, looking for anything I might have missed. The images are mostly mundane, pictures of city streets and parks. But one photo catches my eye, a shadowy figure in the background of a street scene. It's blurry, but the figure's posture is oddly familiar. Could this be a clue? I'm not sure, but I decide to send it to Jack for analysis. The more information we have, the better. The days drag on as I wait for updates. Each time my phone rings or an email arrives, my heart skips a beat. I'm on edge, knowing that every new piece of information could either bolster my case or complicate it further. One evening, as I'm about to turn in, my phone buzzes with a message from Jack. The message is brief but to the point: "Got something interesting. Call me ASAP. I pick up the phone, dialing Jack's number with a mixture of dread and anticipation. He answers on the second ring. I've got news, he says, his voice low and urgent. I think we've uncovered something significant. Meet me at my office tomorrow morning. This could be crucial. As I hang up, I feel a flicker of hope. Whatever Jack has found might be the key to finally turning the tables. The stakes are high, and the tension is palpable. I prepare for the meeting, knowing that the next steps could define the outcome of this twisted saga of betrayal and retribution. The next morning, I find myself pacing nervously in Jack's office. The room is sparsely decorated but functional, with a large desk covered in stacks of files and a few framed photographs on the walls. Jack arrives promptly, his expression serious as he closes the door behind him. Thanks for coming, he says, taking a seat at his desk. He gestures for me to sit across from him. I've been digging into Emily's recent activities, and I've uncovered something significant. I sit down, my heart pounding. What did you find? Jack opens a folder and spreads several documents across the desk. I've traced some financial transactions and communications. It seems Emily and her lover were part of a larger network that's involved in selling explicit content online. They weren't operating in isolation, there are others involved. I scan the documents, seeing names and addresses that mean nothing to me. So, she's not just a freelance operator. Not at all, Jack replies. This network is quite organized. They use multiple people to handle different aspects of their operations, taking photos, managing websites, handling transactions. Emily was likely just one part of a larger machine. My mind races as I try to absorb the implications. How does this affect my case? It complicates things, Jack says. If we can prove that Emily was deeply involved in this network, it could provide leverage in the divorce proceedings. It also opens up other avenues for legal action, especially if there are illegal activities involved. I nod, feeling a mix of anger and determination. What's our next step? I've managed to get a lead on one of their key contacts, Jack says. A man named Richard Kane. He seems to be one of the higher-ups in the network. I think he's the key to understanding the full scope of their operations. Jack hands me a file with Richard Kane's information. I take a deep breath. What do you suggest? I'm planning to approach Kane discreetly, Jack explains. But it would be helpful if you could provide any additional context or details you might have about Emily's activities. Anything that can help us establish a clearer picture. All right, I say. I'll think about it and let you know if I come up with anything. After leaving Jack's office, I return to my apartment, feeling the weight of the new revelations. I spend hours going through the remaining photos on my camera, searching for anything that might link Emily to the network further. The photo of the shadowy figure from the city street still haunts me. It might be a clue or it might be nothing, but I'm determined to find out. Later that evening, my phone buzzes with a message from Greg. I heard about the new development. Can we meet? I have some information that might help. I agree to meet Greg at a local bar, where we settle into a quiet booth. Greg looks more serious than usual as he slides a folder across the table to me. This was given to me by a friend, he says. It's some background on Richard Kane. Apparently, he's been involved in some shady dealings for years. His name has come up in investigations related to organized crime and illicit activities. I scan the documents, which detail Kane's connections to various criminal enterprises. This is exactly what we needed, I say, feeling a surge of hope. Do you think we can use this to our advantage? Definitely, Greg replies. If Kane's name is linked to larger criminal activities, it could add serious weight to our case. We just need to ensure that this information is credible and can be used effectively. As I review the documents, I feel a growing sense of urgency. The more I learn, the more complex and dangerous this situation becomes. It's not just about Emily's betrayal anymore, it's about exposing a criminal network and seeking justice. The next morning, I meet with Jack to discuss the new information. We go over the documents and strategize on how best to approach Kane. Jack decides to set up a meeting with Kane under the guise of a business proposition, hoping to extract information without raising suspicion. A few days later, Jack calls me with an update. I've set up a meeting with Kane. It's happening tomorrow. I'll need you to be ready in case we need any additional support or information. I nod, feeling a mix of anticipation and anxiety. I'll be ready. Keep me posted on how it goes. That night, as I lie in bed, my mind races with thoughts of what's to come. The stakes have never been higher, and the potential for uncovering more about Emily's betrayal and the criminal network looms large. Each new piece of information brings with it both hope and peril. The following day, I receive a call from Jack. The meeting went well. Kane was cautious but revealed some crucial information. He's involved in multiple illegal ventures, and Emily was a small but significant player in his operations. Jack continues, we've managed to secure evidence that could tie Emily directly to these activities. It's not just about the affair anymore, it's about her involvement in serious criminal activities. I feel a rush of vindication and resolve. What's our next move? We need to present this evidence strategically, Jack advises. We'll use it to strengthen your case in the divorce and potentially pursue additional legal actions against Emily and her network. As I prepare for the next phase of this battle, I realize that the path ahead is fraught with challenges. But with the evidence we've gathered and the support of those around me, I'm more determined than ever to seek justice and ensure that Emily and her associates face the consequences of their actions. The intrigue of the hidden web continues to unravel, and with each new revelation, the quest for retribution becomes ever more intense. The days following Jack's revelations have been a whirlwind of activity. With the evidence gathered and the full extent of Emily's betrayal exposed, the legal battle intensifies. I feel a grim satisfaction knowing that Emily's actions will not go unpunished, but a part of me remains uneasy, sensing that the situation might not be as straightforward as it seems. It's a Friday afternoon when I receive a call from Jack. His voice is tense. We've got a situation. It seems like someone in the network is trying to cover their tracks. I think they might be aware that we're closing in. I feel a shiver of dread. What do you mean? I've received intel that Emily and her associates are planning something drastic, Jack says. It could be an attempt to destroy evidence or retaliate. We need to act quickly. I hang up and pace my apartment, the walls closing in as I consider my next move. The stakes have escalated beyond a legal dispute. Now, it's a matter of survival and retribution. I contact Greg, who agrees to help me in this final confrontation. Let's meet at the warehouse tonight, I tell Greg. We need to be ready for whatever they have planned. The warehouse, located on the outskirts of town, is a sprawling, abandoned building with a foreboding presence. As night falls, Greg and I arrive, armed with the evidence and a determination to end this once and for all. We've set up a makeshift surveillance operation and are prepared for a confrontation. Around midnight, a series of vehicles pull up to the warehouse. Shadowy figures move with purpose, carrying large cases and equipment. It's clear that they're in the process of removing or destroying evidence. I signal to Greg, and we move into position, hiding behind crates and using night vision goggles to keep watch. Suddenly, a voice crackles over my earpiece. They're setting up a burning pit, Jack informs me. They're likely planning to incinerate documents and equipment. I nod, feeling a surge of urgency. We need to stop them before they destroy everything. Greg and I carefully make our way closer, avoiding detection. We manage to slip into the building and position ourselves near the pit. The sound of crackling fire and muffled voices fills the air. I spot Emily among the group, her face tense and determined. I catch her eye and see a flicker of recognition. Her expression shifts from determination to panic as she realizes that we're onto them. She tries to flee, but Greg intercepts her, grabbing her by the arm. "Not so fast," Greg growls. "We've got a lot to discuss." Emily's eyes dart around, seeking an escape. "You don't understand," she pleads. "We're in too deep. If you try to stop us, there will be consequences." Before I can respond, Richard Kane steps forward, a menacing figure whose presence commands the room. "I see we have some uninvited guests," he says coldly. "I suppose it's time to end this charade." A tense standoff ensues. The network's members move in, but Jack and his team, who had been coordinating from a distance, suddenly burst in, creating chaos. The room erupts in noise and confusion as we engage in a fierce confrontation. I find myself face to face with Kane, a surge of adrenaline fueling my movements. "You brought this on yourself," I say, as I grapple with him. Kane retaliates with ruthless efficiency, but I manage to subdue him with a swift, decisive move. Meanwhile, Greg and Jack handle the rest of the network members, ensuring that no one escapes or destroys evidence. The warehouse becomes a battleground, and amidst the chaos, I manage to secure the documents and equipment that Kane's crew had been trying to incinerate. The battle reaches its climax when Emily, cornered and desperate, attempts to flee with a briefcase of incriminating documents. I intercept her, grabbing the briefcase and wrenching it from her grip. "This is over," I say, my voice cold and final. "Your schemes, your betrayal, it all ends here." Emily glares at me with a mix of hatred and resignation. "You think you've won? There are others who will come for you. This isn't the end." As the authorities arrive, led by Jack and his team, I watch as Emily and the rest of the network members are taken into custody. The evidence we've recovered will be crucial in bringing them to justice. In the aftermath, I stand alone in the warehouse, the weight of the night's events settling over me. The sense of victory is tempered by the knowledge of the personal cost. Emily's betrayal and the ruthless actions taken to seek retribution have left scars that will not easily fade. The following week, as I finalize the divorce and move forward with my life, I reflect on the events that transpired. The legal battles and the confrontation at the warehouse have stripped away any illusions of reconciliation or redemption. The once familiar world of my marriage is now a distant memory, replaced by the stark reality of betrayal and vengeance. As I look ahead, I know that the road to recovery will be long and challenging. The experience has changed me, and the echoes of the confrontation linger in my mind. The intricate web of deception has been unraveled, but the impact of the betrayal will resonate for years to come. And so, the final chapter closes on a story of treachery and retribution. The lines have been drawn, the battles fought, and the outcome settled. In the end, the hero's quest for justice has come at a steep price, leaving behind a landscape forever altered by the harsh realities of betrayal and revenge.